The difference is the intent. So, ladies, whatever you do, make sure that you have that, because that's going to make a huge difference in how you react. And
thank you, amazing. I wanted to see you beat the crap out of Brian, but that's
Brian
next time.
Brian, I think, wants to keep his
he's like,
today.
yes, amazing. Thank you, Jennifer. David, I'd like to talk a little bit more about Omega International and the services that you offer. So, how do we find you, and like, how can we get to find out a little bit more about the company?
Well, we have a website, Omega International Group Inc. You can Google us. I'm on LinkedIn as well.
Okay.
We're also part of the Beverly Hills Chamber of Commerce. So Beverly Hills Chamber of Commerce, great commerce. And, we're in Beverly Hills a lot, around town, and we're very accessible. My business partner and I, that's one thing that's been a huge differentiator for us, is we're very accessible. With most companies, you probably can never talk to the CEO, don't even know who the CEO is. My business partner and I, we're very accessible to talk to every one of our clients.
Okay.
And go to our website. We have an 888 number as well. It's 24 hours, 888-337-0648.
Okay.
That's a 24-hour answering service, and we get calls from 9 o'clock at night to 3 in the morning. And I guarantee someone's going to call you back. We always call back. And, our business is 24/7. We never close. Emergencies don't happen 9 to 5. We've gotten calls at midnight for emergency requests. We've gotten calls at 3 in the morning for emergency requests.
Yeah.
So, protection is a 24-hour business. So that's just what we do.
I know you're a phenomenal company, and I love the service that you provide, and helping so many people and protecting so many people. And the other thing I wanted to talk about too is we talked a little bit about it before the show started, and about being too nice and being in the public eye. So say for example somebody who's in my business or into entertainment and a celebrity, maybe they're a singer or an actress. How do you know the difference between handling your fans and handling the crazies, let's say? Because there is a big difference, and how do we know how to determine who's who?
Well, that's a great question, and it's a tough balance, I should say. And that's why a lot of these people that are in front of the camera, behind the camera, do hire a protective team, because you may not be trained, and your business is to be in the entertainment industry. That's what you're focused on. That's what you're best at, and we want you to focus on that and be successful at that career. And what we do is we come in and we look for those threats, because it often is very hard to distinguish who's the good people, who's the bad people.
Yeah.
And it's a balancing act where you want to be in the limelight, you want to have followers, you want to be, on Facebook Live, you want to do all these things to have the exposure, but at the same time is with the fame comes, some pitfalls. And there is unfortunately some bad people in the world that will target you. And so that's when you really have to focus, is if you're really going to think about your protection, is you're going to have to hire a protection team.
Yeah.
I was at an event a couple of days ago. We met a very up-and-coming star who's at about 10 million followers. She's getting ready to launch a CD. And we were talking to her record company. We were talking to the publicist as well, that her whole life is going to change, and it is changing. And she needs now to change her posture when she goes out. Look what happened to Christina Grimmie. I mean, unfortunately, she was shot and killed during a signing. So you have to, it's tough for an actual client or actual actress or somebody who's in the limelight to really focus on who's the good people and who's the bad people, because oftentimes it's really hard for you to see.
Yeah.
That's why they call us for a consultation. They call us to hire our services. So you just have to be aware. I mean, it's going to might be tough for you to really see who's who.
Yeah. Absolutely. So just a scenario that happened yesterday, and so how do you know how to handle these? Because for me, I am the 10,000 Facebook friends, and I don't know half of them. I don't know where they're coming from, different countries. So yesterday, actually 2 days ago, I got a text message saying, "Hi, is this Traci?" or "Hi, Traci," and I said, "Who is this, please?" And then after that, it was 7 hours later, I got the name of the person. And so I said, "How did you get my number?" Didn't respond. "Oh, I know you through social media." how did you get my number and who do I know? He said, a mutual friend knows you. Who's a mutual friend? How'd you get my number? Never answered either of the question. So I left it, and then, I met you at an event. And I left it, never said anything, went and did my work, and I got a phone call last night saying, hey, it's so-and-so, and yeah, I met you through a friend at an event, you gave me your number. And I said, I gave you my number. I said, well, I don't give out my number, so are we doing business together? Nope. I get through Instagram. You gave it me through Instagram. Well, I never give out my number through Instagram, so how do I know you? And it just kind of went from there, and then the questions were, do you live in LA? Where are you in LA? And at that point, the conversation ended. And, it's terrifying because I don't know if that person's, I don't know who they are. I don't know if they're calling for someone. I don't know if they're behind me. I don't know if they're following me. And I just, and he also had mentioned that he likes my Facebook Lives and that, he saw me in wherever I was lately. And, that's scary because I want to put myself out there and share these workouts and these things that I'm doing in the entertainment business on the red carpets. But where do you draw the line to protect yourself, protect your safety?
Whoever you are, Traci's learning self-defense now, so don't even try anything. Okay?
Yeah, and you think, yeah, I'm learning from her, so yeah. I mean, and then having the protective services, like Omega International, having like someone like that behind me to make sure that I'm safe at all times, because I don't want to be the nice girl that gets caught and get caught off guard.
Exactly, and it's unfortunate nowadays with the power of the internet. For $20, I can find out where you live. I can find out your phone number. I can find out anything about you. Yeah. And that's kind of the downfall of the internet. That in the past you were kind of anonymous. You don't want to take somebody's call. It was kind of done. But now, we're seeing more and more that these threats are, when we have a protection detail, I would say a third of the time, the bad person actually shows up. And that's 5-10 years ago, that never happened. Yeah. And now, the past cases we've had last summer through this summer, a third of the time, the bad person has shown up.
Wow.
And it's pretty scary to think that if we weren't there, what would be the end result? You don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I'm going to ask a question because it's one of those questions that not a lot of people want to talk about, but what about guns? So protecting yourself with a gun. Jennifer, I know we talked about, because we're going to go to this shooting range. I've done it before a few times, but obviously I'm not going to say if I own a gun or not, but what about guns, like to protect ourselves and have a gun?
Gun is a tool like anything else. If you're going to own a gun, I would say just be responsible and do get as much training as you can. A gun is the same thing as owning a car. A car, you can get in, and if you're not trained properly, you don't know how to drive, you can drive out the street, pull out the parking lot, you're going to run people over, cause a major accident. You can kill somebody very quickly. A gun is no different. I'm a firearm owner for over 25 years, and you just have to get a lot of training. And you have to be comfortable with that gun. And, a gun is a last resort. I'm not going to say it's something you want to pull out first because, California has a very strict gun policy. And unfortunately, you're going to have to show that you did everything you could prior to using that firearm. Firearm is always a last resort. Yeah. And you don't want to get yourself in legal trouble. However, if you need it to protect yourself and you feel that threatened and you're properly trained, you're properly licensed to carry it, well, that's your prerogative.
I agree with everything David said. That because the percentage of gun owners that have their firearm turned and used against them is astronomically high. I think it's up in the 80% range because they didn't train. And if you pull out your firearm, you have to pull it out with the intent that you may be using it. And a lot of assailants know that you may not. And then it's turned against you. So as a last resort, but you also don't always have your firearm with you at all times. You're not showering with it. You're not making dinner with it. You're certainly not going to Walmart with it, at least not in California with our gun laws.
I was going to say I take mine to Walmart as a joke, but I don't want to get in trouble, so I'm just kidding.
Well, there are people concealing that you just don't know, not legally in California without their permit, which is hard to get here, but because of our gun laws. And you do need to know the gun laws in your state from state to state because they do vary. But the only weapons you have on you at all times are your own. But you do need to train with it because if you're not comfortable with it, and you don't know how to use it, it's going to do more harm than good for you. But it is a tool, it is a helpful tool, and everybody should learn. I think when you do learn how to use a firearm and you get more comfortable, the less fearful you are, the more it changes your perspective, your ideas, and maybe even your politics on gun ownership. It's I think the people that are not educated on guns that are the biggest advocates against it. And then once they get educated, they realize, oh, okay, it's not a bad thing in the hands of good people, and it's a great equalizer if you need to, and that's pretty much it. So they're a great tool, but you need to know how to use it.
It's great for home defense. I think it's really good for your home.
Yeah.
But carrying it day to day, there's just so much that goes into the training that you probably realistically may not even have time to go through that much training to really properly use it. And just like Jennifer was saying, one of the things is gun retention. If someone decides to take it from you, have you trained on that? That's a whole different type of training. So if you're not trained on that, I can easily take it away from you. The bad guy can easily take it away from you and use it against you. So I think it is a great tool. It's really great for home defense, because if someone comes in your home late at night, you know what? A jury's probably going to use in your favor that they came in your sanctuary.
And they just need to hear that.
I'd be ready. Yeah, you're right. Hi, honey, I'm home.
Well, like Jennifer was saying, and we've been talking about the theme of being aware, maybe taking some self-defense training, just some basic self-defense stuff. Nothing that you have to memorize these really crazy moves. Pepper spray is always great.
Yeah.
You never heard of anybody using excessive force on pepper spray, even though it is a felony if you misuse it. But you rarely hear of anybody misusing pepper spray.
Okay.
So I think those are probably the best tools that we could have, because you may not, even if you carry a gun, you may not have time to pull it out.
Yeah.
Where do you carry it? It's in your purse. It's on the bottom of your purse. All the junk.
Yeah.
Your hairspray's in there. Your curling iron, and you can't even get to it in the need when it's time. So I think having the awareness, having some training with just some basic self-defense, carrying some pepper spray, be confident when you go out there, and I think that's the best tool that you can have in self-defense.
Okay, great. And how do you know that it's gotten to the point where we need to hire you on? And obviously we're going to go do these self-defense classes, right? Everyone, they're going to do this first, but how do we know that we got to the point, or is it before it's too late? So you've been having threats made against you, or you're getting phone calls like I did. How do you know when it's time to bring on Omega International?
Well, you shouldn't wait till it's too late, where it's getting kind of where it's really getting increased threats. If you feel uncomfortable at the phone calls, if you feel uncomfortable with the type of language that's been used, whether it be tweets or Instagram, you can always reach out to us. Anybody can reach out to us and say, hey, we'll give you a 30-minute free consultation to figure out if you do have, maybe it's either harassment, or maybe it's just nothing, or maybe you actually do have a serious threat.
Okay.
And we do that all the time. Clients call us all the time and say, hey, I have this. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
And we'll take a look at it. At times, we do recommend security, and at times, it may not. You may not need security. You may just have to change a few things of your life, small, simple things. But I wouldn't wait till it becomes,
Okay.
so stressful where now you're up at night and you're paranoid about what's going on, because then it's probably at a breaking point.
Online bullying and cyber stalking. So what is considered actual, where it's to the point where it's a problem? Cyber stalking. So defamation of character, people putting things about you on social media. Where is it the point where it's too much? Because, you can go to the police, you can have someone, help you with that, you can get advice from your friends or your family, but when is it so much where you have to take that next step to get, provide a service to help you through that?
Well, every scenario is different, and I think, again, you can't wait till it gets out of control. There are laws that that are in place here in California. You can get restraining orders on people, even though some people say, well, it's a waste of time. It's not really a waste of time. There's a lot of cases where people violate those restraining orders. There's defamation of character laws. When you start putting judgments on people, when you start getting people arrested, when you start getting people investigated, you want to turn it to where the bad guy is going to now stop, because they're going to get in a lot of legal trouble.
Yeah.
And again, you can't wait till it gets completely out of control.
David, so on that, just from experience and other scenarios with friends and people that I've seen go through domestic violent cases, things like that, and they've actually, their lives have been taken. So the thing is like with the restraining orders and stuff like that, because a lot of people get fear, and I know I've been in that situation where it's like, well, if I put a restraining order on him, it's going to make him mad. So I don't want to make him mad, because what's he going to do when he gets mad? So that's, I hear that a lot from women, and you've heard the case scenarios. I mean, look at Nicole Simpson Brown. I mean, for example, I mean, Tanya Brown Simpson's a very good friend of mine, and we've talked about that over and over and over, and I mean, she's written about it, she wrote about it. I mean, she was scared, she was terrified, and you always kind of read these things. So how do we protect ourselves from that? Because if you get a restraining order and there's no police report, or there is a police report and a restraining order, but still, you know, your life can be at jeopardy.
Yeah, it's tough, and there's no, I don't know if there's any easy solution for that.
Yeah.
Because I've heard, you know, cases just as you said, where someone didn't want to have a restraining order, then something happened. Someone put a restraining order, then something happened.
Yeah.
So it's a tough balancing act, but, you know, we have to really be aware of, you know, we have to somehow not get ourselves in those situations to get to that point.
Yeah.
When you get in relationships, you know, you can Google people. You meet people, you say, hey, this might be a great guy. I just met him. You know, you didn't meet him online. But you'd be very, we do a lot of investigation on social media. So if somebody's threatening our client, we do the reverse engineering, and we use social media to investigate people, and we find a lot of information on people. We'll find out where you work, what you're doing, what your habits are, who you're hanging out with, you know, what are people saying about you, good and bad and the ugly. So there's nothing wrong with you meeting somebody, and it could be a male or female, that let me just Google this person, let me look at their social media, let me look at their Facebook, let me look at all the things, and you connect your own dots. And if things are not correct, or if there's things that are out of place, or if people are saying bad things about them, or they're posting some very odd and kind of violent and angry posts, then that's a red flag. Like, I may not want this person in my inner circle.
Do your homework, definitely. I've learned that one from experience. Definitely do your homework. Google is a wonderful tool. And, you know, it's been, my girlfriends, I'm like, why didn't you Google them? Like, why didn't you just take a minute just to Google the name? You know, and we've all been there. But, yeah, so that's definitely a key thing. So the other awareness points I want to touch on before we end the show today is being aware, having take your hand off the cell phone for a minute, put your cell phone away, have your keys in your hand, be prepared. Having awareness, look at your surroundings. Any other things that we touched on that you guys want to mention?
I'd say keep your distance when speaking to strangers. Don't let anybody get within striking distance, is what I like to say.
Okay.
So you get a lot of homeless. That's a huge topic also, off of our topic, but it is a huge topic. And they're coming asking for money, and to hand them the money, of course. But be aware when you come in close proximity to anybody that you don't know or that you're not comfortable with, that they're not close enough to grab you, and have your hands up. We like to do our thinking pose, or we just like to talk to them like you're in security. You probably, you know, talk to people or address them with your hands up so that you're more ready to defend yourself if you need to be. Yeah, and just to talk about the restraining order, it's a piece of paper. So if a guy's going to violate a restraining order, he's going to violate a restraining order. That's there for legalities, just so that you have more power against them if they do transgress against that restraining order. But just because you have a restraining order, it is not a magic piece of paper that says now they're not going to come near you. You know, so let's just be straight on what that actually is.
Yeah.
But
I think also is a lot of times we put ourselves in these positions. You know, follow your intuition, and if you're putting yourself in a bad place, you have to get away from that bad place. You know, a lot of times, if you're somewhere, and if you're at an event, you're at a party, you're at a bar, you can tell and sense when the vibe is changing. When the vibe is changing when it's getting negative, and there's things that it doesn't seem that's kind of off, it's getting too rowdy. So maybe some seedy people show up. It's time for you to leave. And when your intuition is saying, "Hey, you know I should leave," you should leave.
yeah, that's a great point.
Trust your instinct.
Don't stay.
Absolutely. How many times? I mean, I can count. I can't even count on my hands how many times I've been like, oh, I knew I should have left.
That's
I
a
knew I
great
should have.
point.
That's a really good point. Yeah, so that's number one too, I think. Follow your instincts and your intuition, absolutely. Again, David Perez, thank you so much for coming on the show. Again, where can we find you so we can hire these guys, Omega International Group of Elite Service here for security?
OmegaINT.us or Google Omega International Group Inc. We'd be happy to service you.
Excellent. And Jennifer Calig Steinberg.
Silverstein.
Sorry.
I know, all the
I was
Jewish
pronouncing
names
that, yeah.
sound alike.
Sorry.
Well, I'm at the House of Champions every Saturday at 11:30 for our women's self-defense class. The first class is free. That's with the I Fight for My Life. If you need to contact me for personal self-defense lessons, I'm at 818-324-0944.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, also we've got this, so you guys can find David Perez on the internet and also all the information there. Jennifer, she's there every Saturday, House of Champions. I want to give a shout out to SWAT Fuel. You guys are going to love this product, so I'm going to hand you these samples. Check it out, www.swatfuel.com. Amazing for focus and energy and workouts. Give you a lot of high-powered intensity for your workouts to keep you going. So thank you so much for all the information.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Marriage.
Yes, and thank you so much for coming on, David Perez and Jennifer. It's going to be great to see you. We're going to miss you this weekend at the House of Champions. And for all your services here, make sure you guys contact David. And until next time, we're here every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time till 5 p.m. on the TLC Unleashed show, Hollywood Vibes, Sports and Life. We will see you next week. Make sure you guys are staying healthy, happy, and fit. And we'll see you next time. And stay safe. Bye.
Oh.
Awesome. This
Good
was
job,
fun.
guys.
9mm. These come in like calibers.
Brian, get a picture of us real quick.
Yeah.